Welcome to another episode of Strategic Moves with Lou. I'm Mike Hendren, and this is Lou Untitled. She is the owner-broker of Strategic Realty here in Wichita Falls, Texas. And each week we try to get together and talk a little bit about things related to real estate, particularly where residential real estate is concerned, because that's the biggest chunk of the market that we work with, primarily.
That's
commercial too, but mostly residential. And one of the things we want to talk about today is getting your home ready to sell, because there's a lot of people selling right now. Not nearly enough. We could certainly use more listings for sure.
We need more of y'all. So
yeah,
if you're planning on moving,
right now there's a big crop of buyers out there, aren't there?
Yeah, they're just sitting there waiting for something to come on the market.
Yeah, and so if you're thinking about selling your home, number one, it's a great time to do it because it is a seller's market. But there's some things that you need to do very specifically when you're getting ready to sell a home. And let's talk a little bit about that today if we can. One of the things, Lou, is I think this is maybe the most important. Hire a professional, hire a realtor to help you, because it is really an arduous process to sell a home. It really is. It's time consuming.
I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I can sell my own home." Well, that is true. You can.
Yep. But
we have the connections. We have the relationships with the different companies, or not so much companies, but the different people in this industry.
Like contractors, for example.
Yeah. So, like, for instance, okay, so you decide to sell your home. Well, your bathroom isn't really up to par, or your kitchen needs backsplash, or maybe you need a tree removed in the yard or something like that. Yeah. Well, you're going to have to find a handyman or a contractor, and they very well might overcharge you.
Right.
Because you're just calling somebody maybe you know somebody, but they might overcharge you. Well, most real estate agents have already developed their list of professionals that they work with.
Right.
And we don't work with people that are overly expensive.
Right.
If any of my contractors start getting a little bit, too big for their britches, then I find a new one that's going to give me the best price that I can give to my customers.
Exactly.
So, we generate all these relationships with people. So whenever you call a real estate agent, hey, do you know of a plumber that that'll do good work? Well, yeah, I do. I have companies that I've worked with for many years, and I prefer to work with because they do good work for me. So whenever I tell one of my customers, call XYZ company,
right, and
they'll take care of you. Just tell them my name,
right,
and they'll call up and they'll tell them my name, and then the company will call me or might call me at some point and say, hey, thanks for the customer. Yeah. So and a lot of times we don't do this here at Strategic, but a lot of companies, a lot of real estate agents, mainly in the Metroplex area, they get kickbacks from some of these companies. So sometimes you got to be a little bit careful. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we use companies that help build our reputation. So if I use a company that does a really crap work, and my customer is completely dissatisfied, then I'll never use them again, because I don't, my reputation, it's all word of mouth at this point.
Yeah, that kind of dovetails into an interesting area. We live in a place here in North Texas that's population-wise, we're not a huge area. Our MSA is probably something under 200,000 realistically. Mm-hmm. Relationships are very important here.
Yeah.
And so we develop these relationships with these various contractors and other professionals that would in some way or another benefit the homeowner who's getting ready to sell their home. And those relationships are very important. And some of those relationships we've had for years and years and years. We've known there's plumbers and electricians and people that I've known for most of my adult life. We're on a first name basis with one another.
I'm a transplant, so I don't really have that kind of benefit. So I have had to generate and develop these relationships, by actually working with them.
You're in Texas a little longer. We'll get you fully assimilated.
Yeah, they'll get me.
But working with a realtor, I think, is just such an important thing, because again, I go back to the time.
This is my
element.
industry, so I make sure that I am proficient
Right.
and, completely immersed in my industry.
Right.
So, if you call me up and tell me, hey, I've got a client that needs they need a handyman,
Right.
I know exactly who to call, because guess what? I do property management. I
Right.
do, and that's who I usually use is a handyman versus some construction company, because they're cheaper. They're,
Right.
they're going to get the job done quickly and in a inexpensive way.
Yeah. And efficiently.
And efficiently, yes.
Efficiency
They're
is
a little
very
bit
important.
faster too, because if you
Big
call a
time.
handyman, usually they have the time. If you call a company,
Yeah.
or a construction company or something like that, then they're going to have to put you on the books. They're going to have to
Right.
put you on the schedule, and that's going to take time. And a lot of these contractors, they're very busy.
How many times have
2
you?
weeks, 3 weeks out.
How many times have you been called up? Someone says, "Hey, I want to sell my house."
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, let me come talk to you. Let's have a conversation. So you walk in the house, and it's just not clean. I mean, you clearly.
Yeah, you got to kind of be a little bit.
Carpets haven't been vacuumed. We haven't dusted since the Carter administration. I mean, there's things need to be clean. I probably really can't stress this too much. Clean, clean, clean.
And I understand. I mean, we live in these homes, and we sometimes don't even notice the things
Right.
that other people would notice when they walk into your home. So, and I'm not saying that everybody's dirty, but sometimes, yes, you do have to, take that little extra effort and, scrub the baseboards or something like that.
Yeah, well, and going back to the relationships with contractors and with
We
other
got
professionals,
cleaning
people. Sometimes it's worth.
Sometimes it's worth, yeah, exactly.
It's worth a couple $100 to pay someone to come in and deep clean the house for you to make sure that the little details, because
Exactly. We forget.
cobwebs up in the corner, whatever. We don't think about that stuff.
Drips on the walls.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just miss things that you see on a regular basis, and you just start to build those blinders to it. So, I mean, I one time I walked into my own home, and I was moving some furniture, and all of a sudden I see these drips on the backside of the freaking wall. I'm like, where did these come from? How did this happen? It was like one of those not the burners that melt the wax.
Yeah,
I guess it's kinda
Sensi is
like
the
a
brand
Sensi.
name of it. Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, but
My daughter had been playing around with it or something like that, and dripped it all the way across the back of the wall.
Yeah.
So I had to sit there with a little tip, ladies and gentlemen: towel, iron up against the wall, and I just
let it
heated it all the way down,
let it
rather than
melt
trying
off.
to scrape it.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to scrape the wax off, I just did a towel, and I just soaked it up in the towel.
When you scrape, you're going to damage the paint. in all
Right,
likelihood.
exactly. And I did the same thing with my carpet when my daughter decided to play with wax on my carpet. Or was it wax or was it nail polish? I can't remember. But yeah, I just took a towel and then I just ironed until it soaked up, until the towel soaked up all the wax.
That's got to be better than Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Kool-Aid on white carpet. Imagine that.
No, it doesn't. I don't care what. I don't care what flavor of Kool-Aid it is. It's going to stain, no matter what it is.
Exactly.
It's going to stain. But
And
cleaning
it's permanent.
is so important. We talk a lot about
Smells.
curb appeal.
Yeah.
In your home.
The first impression a buyer is going to have is going to be of whatever's in your front door.
Right.
That first impression when they open the door, if it smells, if it looks cluttered, if it looks, nappy. I can't think of the freaking words today.
Well, just if it's
dingy, that sort of thing. That's the first impression that a lot of these buyers are going to get. So you want to make sure that first impression, that entryway, is really worked on the most.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it also needs to get worked on. But like whenever you first walk into a room, the first thing that your eyes go to, that's what you need to work on.
You're kind of setting expectations too with that first impression.
Yeah.
When they first walk up to the door, and things are decluttered and neat and clean, and there's no foul smell or anything there. That kind of sets the expectation for the rest of the house. So don't stop there. Make sure everything looks good, smells good. Clean the blinds, clean the windows.
It doesn't, it doesn't take very much to do some of these things, but it is time consuming. So
it is.
We do have cleaning people.
That's right.
We've all developed those type of relationships with people.
That's right.
that's part of our job. I mean, it's to make sure that every step of the process, we have somebody in our corner to help us get it done.
Totally.
So, real estate agents, even if you're not planning on selling your house right this second, if you're planning on selling it after doing a little bit of updates and stuff like that, still call a real estate agent, because more than likely they'll be able to put you, give you a good referral for a contractor or for a roofer or for, if you need some foundation work or something like that.
Right.
Because almost every single real estate agent has worked with one company or another, and they have their preference. They know who not to go to as well.
That's true. Yeah.
They know who is going to screw you, or maybe I can't say that word. I don't know who's gonna mess up the job.
Yeah. Or you don't want to put them with someone's going to take advantage of them. That's the main thing. You don't want to pair them up with someone's going to take advantage of them.
Or they're going to do subpar work or something like that. I mean, you want somebody that's going to do the work the right way the first time, so you don't have to fix it later. Because that's a lot of times too. I mean, you figure you're going to save a few dollars by doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that are very, very handy capable, and they can do a lot of this work, and they can make it look amazing. Yeah. But then there's other people that, they try to do a good job, but when you walk in the house, it looks like it was DIY.
Now, also minor repairs, if there's a piece of trim missing off around a door or broken or
drips underneath the sink is a big one, because that can kill a deal.
Yeah. People when they come in to look at your home, when you're showing that home, a lot of people are going to do that. They're going to dig through the cabinets.
They're going to look underneath the sink.
They're going to look underneath the sinks. They're going to, is the toilet leaking? Is it, is the hot?
Is it wobbly?
Is the water heater leaking? Yeah.
It's funny. I actually have not seen anybody actually sit on a toilet to check and make sure that it's wobbly until this last year. I had a client that actually went and sat on the toilet while we were walking through the house and did that little shit, the little shake. Just to make sure that it wasn't wobbly.
I hope he kept his pants up.
Well, yeah. We were walking through the house. The toilet seat was down. But at first I was like,
let's don't do a full test.
Yeah, he sat down on the toilet, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen here? He did the little wobble, and it didn't wobble, and I was like, oh God. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And little things like that. Sometimes that can be as simple as one of the bolts not being tightened down enough, or it could be a broken flange.
The flange is, it could be. It just needs another. What's those things called? The little shimmies or something.
The washer.
Well, they put shimmies underneath it sometimes, and then they seal around the shimmy with caulk.
Yes.
To make sure that it doesn't wobble.
Yeah. And a lot of times in older homes you'll run into that a lot too, where you have to shim the toilet or you have to maybe even change that flange out completely. Maybe it's got an old steel flange that's starting to decay after time, and most of them now use the PVC or plastic flanges for that. But make those minor repairs. I think that's very important, to make sure that, if there's something, and again, that goes back to the visual appeal part of things.
Correct.
When people see that, again, every time they see something positive or negative, it's establishing an expectation for the next room, the next step in the house,
And I'm not saying that you have to make this home a brand new home, because some buyers have the expectation that when they walk into a home, it's going to be pristine and that there's not going to need any work to it. And some of them are like that. I mean, some of them, are well maintained in that sense. But, buyers have to understand also that these homes are not brand new. Sometimes there are going to need to have some little tiny things done to it.
Well, and that's really part of our job there too, is when we're walking a prospective buyer through the home, is, you have to make it clear that there are some things, there may be some minor cosmetic things.
Right. The makeup is not completely perfect. Yeah. But the bones themselves are solid. So that's what we try to emphasize to a lot of these buyers. Right. Maybe there's some minor, a ding here on the back of the door. It has a little hole in it because it doesn't have a stopper on it or something like that. And a lot of those things are pretty easy fixes, for a homeowner. Don't be scared of those types of things, because like I said earlier, we as real estate agents have the resources to help you get those small things fixed. Like, if there's if they do a property, if they do an inspection on the home and there's this big, huge honeydew list and it looks terrifying. Well, I have a handyman that I give him a list of all the different things that I want him to do. You know, underneath the sink in the master bathroom has a little bit of a leak, or you know, there's a door that's not quite latching right, and he'll go through it and he'll fix everything that needs to get fixed, so that whenever you buy it, you know, it's got all those little honeydew things already taken care of.
Those things are
just keep in mind. I mean, these homes are not new, so you know, as soon as the weather changes, if it gets cold, it's gonna, you know, things are gonna shift, and doors are gonna they're gonna adjust.
Yeah, and in this part of the country too, foundation shifting is very common.
When it gets cold, I mean, it's like your car, you know, your tires. Yeah. Whenever it gets cold, you know, it shrinks, and then whenever it gets hot, it expands. So sometimes your tires are going to run out of air, and you're going to be like, "Oh no, I got a flat." No, it's just because it's the air.
I've got one of those doors in my house that I know in the wintertime it's going to drag just a little bit in this one little spot right here.
Yeah, exactly.
And as soon as the ground temperature warms up and things move a little bit, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
We're good
so
again.
It's not something that you have to repair. Yeah. I have the same thing in my house for some reason. All along the hallway, there's like this little tiny itty bitty gap during the winter, and I can see it, but then during the summer I can't see it anymore. Yeah. So I don't know if I want to fix that, because then it might crack the wall.
Maybe better to leave that one alone. Yeah.
But that's what happens to our homes is, you know, things they.
We mentioned bathrooms a moment ago. Bathrooms and kitchens. Is that still two of the biggest selling points in a home? Bathrooms and kitchens.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it just really depends on the buyer. But if you have an updated bathroom, or if you have an updated kitchen, you're more likely to have more. What's the word for it? Desirability. You know, most of these younger generation, they see that as a plus. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing either, but it can get expensive. But there's certain things that you can do to improve your home in the kitchen and the bathroom without having to gut the whole entire thing. Just putting a nice clean backsplash on it will do wonders to the curb appeal.
Paint.
What's the word? Yeah. Paint, a good coat of paint, and paint's easy to do, so that's not something that you have to hire somebody to do if you want to do it yourself. Right. Don't paint the cabinets, though. That's a nightmare. Don't paint the cabinets.
That's a lot, and a lot of people do that now, especially if they have older cabinets in their home. A lot of older homes will have dark stains.
If they're already painted, then maybe you should paint it. But even then, you really don't want to just paint. You really want to sand them and do it the right way, because otherwise, whenever you just put a coat of paint over some grease stain, that grease is going to come right back. Yeah.
Well, there's a process to doing that, and it's not easy. I've not done it myself, but I know people who have.
I'm not a really big fan of painted cabinets. Like, I walk into a home, and I mean, sometimes if they were originally like that, then that's cool. And I like the Rust-Oleum type thing, where you can actually buy a kit, and it gives you everything that you need in order to paint these cabinets. Right. And so if you're going to do it that route. Right. And I've used that process before, and it's actually come out pretty nicely. But let me think, what else? In the bathrooms, what you can do to, you know, kind of an easy fix, change the mirror, change the fixtures. Yeah. Get rid of the gold fixtures. Yes. Those are things that you can do to kind of like make the bathroom seem a little bit more updated. Yeah.
Bring it out of the 70s, maybe.
Right. Yeah, because some of the homes have those mirrors that are just up against the wall. There's no real depth to them. So if you take that mirror out, you know, obviously you're going to probably want to paint behind it, and then go to Lowe's or go to At Home or go to one of those places that has a nice framed mirror. Right. Or something like that. That kind of gives it another feel. The easy thing that you can also do is change the fixtures. Well, you probably need a plumber for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Unless you're real handy with plumbing.
Well, it can get tricky.
I would hire a plumber personally. I would get
too.
a professional to help you with that. I really would. That would be better. Pets. Oh. Lots of people, dogs, cats.
We love our animals.
But is it a good idea to leave the pets in the house, because when your home's going to be shown, you're going to leave, you're going to go away. The agent that's showing the home is going to bring their client over, and if they walk in the door and the first thing they're met with is
Well, most real estate agents are pretty pet friendly, so we don't really get scared, but sometimes our clients, they get scared. I've had many clients that are terrified of dogs. So, it's always a good idea to either pen them or take them with you.
If you've got a kennel, you can put them in. That's great. Or take them with you. Or at a minimum, maybe put them in the backyard. I don't know. Just whatever. But
I love the one that says "Don't let the cat out."
Yeah.
They put a sign on the wall or something. Don't let the cat out. I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
If I walk outside and this cat runs by me, then it's my fault that they got out. It's a little scary.
Please don't feed the dog. I didn't plan to, but okay, I won't. But, and another thing, too, and this goes back to the cleaning aspect, too. When we have pets in our home, very often we're going to have odors that the pets will leave behind.
Even if you don't realize it.
And, well, if you live with the dog or you live with the cat 24/7, you probably become somewhat nose blind to anything they're bringing in with them in terms of smell. Right. So be cognizant of that and understand that you may not notice it. And you may not think it's a problem. You may not notice anything. But someone who's not there.
If you walk into your home, the first smell, that's what the rest of your house smells like.
Yeah. It gets in there, gets in your head, and you can't get it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't. Well, no, I'm just saying, like, whenever you first walk into your home, when you're coming out of the garage, or when you're coming home from work, that first smell that greets you is what the rest of your home smells like. And you may not notice it after you've been in the house for a good 4 or 5 minutes, but other people usually
catch on to that real quick. Yeah, and understand some people are really sensitive to smells and odors. Some
Apparently
people
I'm sensitive to bordello smells too.
But some people are just really sensitive to those smells. And again, it may not trouble you, and it may not trouble most people, but you never know. That one prospective buyer, that one person that might be the one, and something turns them off to it, and you may not get them turned back onto it again.
Right.
So it's little details that you need to pay attention to.
A little trick that you can do, if you have a really strong odor in your home, you can take a cup of vinegar and put it in the corner. Well, if you have a pet, just be careful. But a little vinegar in a cup, open to the air, will help kind of neutralize some of those smells. Yeah. If you're planning on selling your home, don't leave it there whenever the customer is walking through your home. Yeah. But during the day, it can help absorb some of those smells.
I showed a house recently. And we're doing a walkthrough. And, of course, we get the appliances are staying with the home.
Right.
Okay. We get to the kitchen, and the client is walking around and, opening doors, and they open the refrigerator.
Oh. And I always tell my clients, don't open the refrigerator.
It looks like a Safeway exploded in there. It is crammed full of food and leftovers and containers of every size, shape, and sort. And something actually fell out of the refrigerator when they opened the door because it was so full.
And it exploded on the floor.
It did. Thank goodness it did not.
Bounced.
It did not.
Good.
It bounced good. It had a good bounce. But and we just picked it up and put it right back in. But don't leave the refrigerator stuffed full of old food. It looks to me like they moved out and just, I guess they forgot to empty the refrigerator
so
and the freezer.
It was a vacant home.
It was a vacant home.
Oh, my gosh.
It was a vacant home. Everything else, there's not a stitch of furniture left in the place. But the refrigerator with food is still there.
If it's a vacant home, I always tell my customers, do not open the refrigerator because you never know what's going to greet you. It could be it could be like yours if there's no electricity, especially. Oh, my gosh, if there was no electricity in that home, it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, well,
it would have stunk up that house.
There was power.
Forever.
And I would not have advised them to open it. They just sort of.
Yeah, it happens.
It's beautiful refrigerator, quite new actually, but inside was awful, just awful. It's like, what were they thinking?
Well,
maybe they just forgot.
Yeah, well, see, when you're moving, you always leave that one drawer behind.
Yes. The junk drawer.
Yeah, it could be the junk drawer, it could be the drawer underneath the sink, or it could be, I mean, there's always, whenever I have tenants that are moving out, I do a walkthrough before they hand over the keys for the final time, just to make sure that they didn't leave anything behind. And every single time there's at least one drawer, one cabinet, one something or other that they've...
When you're moving, it's easy to forget stuff, you know, because
Or the dishwasher still has dishes in it.
Yeah, we've all moved at least once or twice in our life, and it's chaos. You can say all day long, this time's going to be different. It's going to be very organized. We're going to label all the boxes. Whatever. There's going to be chaos when you move. It's inevitable.
Or if you have movers, they move your garbage can and put it in. Pack your garbage can. I don't know how many times as a military spouse that happened to me. You always have to make sure to throw the garbage away while the movers are there.
Why?
Because that's all that they're just used to. They just go into a room and they just pack it.
Take it all. Take it all. And that's another thing too. When you're selling a home and you have, let's say you've moved out of the home already, make sure you don't leave clutter behind. You know, because
you want to clean. You want to make sure that you're going to leave it at least personal property clean and swept clean.
And I can see where some people might be tempted to take the garage for example. We've all got stuff in our garage that we haven't touched in 15 years. And we're not going to touch again.
Or the hazardous stuff.
Or the hazardous stuff. And
paint.
I can see where maybe there's a temptation to go, I don't need to pack that. I don't need to take that. Let's leave it here. Maybe somebody else can use it. And maybe sometimes that's the mentality. Well, maybe the next person can use it for something. But that's not always a great idea to leave that behind, especially if it's hazardous. Gasolines, oils, stains, paints.
I would say the only thing that I would leave is paint. Because sometimes the homeowner wants to know what paint color was used, and if you have a leftover can in the garage, then that can be helpful to them to figure out what color that was. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things too that we probably need to do a whole new show on, because I've had the experience where people are selling their home and they don't. They just don't clean it and give it to the new owner. In the condition that they got it in, or vice versa. I mean, I've seen people that I walked to the home and I'm like, oh my gosh, could they not just get a cleaning lady to come in here and clean or something? They left it, covered, the carpet's covered in dog hair, or the windows aren't clean. And it just makes me feel like I need to go in there and clean it for my client.
I guess you can kind of go back to that adage of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And you would want it if you were taking that house, if you were purchasing that home, you would want it a certain way. You would want it as clean as possible.
At least move in ready, where if they're going to move in right away, that they don't have to go and do a bunch of stuff to it this second.
Yeah, because my house that I live in now, we couldn't move into it right away. I paid someone to come in and clean it. Yeah. Because it needed it.
And that's very common. And I mean, it's just, it doesn't take very much to, once you've actually moved out. I mean, I know that moving process is so frustrating sometimes where by the time you get to that point where you're done in the house, you're done. Yeah. You just want to walk away.
You're exhausted.
Well, talk to your real estate agent. They can get somebody to come in there and, clean the house.
Right.
And it's never going to be clean enough to the standards of the buyer. Just FYI. Yeah. But at the very least, get your personal stank off of it.
Get you make it as neutral as you can. I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, as neutral as you
can. Either whether it's cleaning the carpets or just or even just a really good vacuum and make sure that they get in all the corners, the windows cleaned inside and out. Baseboards cleaned. Those are just some basic things. Insides of the cabinets swept out.
Right. Well, in wrapping up today, I want to say thank you to Terry McAdams and Lucy McAdams and the crew at MacTech Solutions for providing the studio space for us here.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that very much. If you're an Apple person and you need repair on your Apple products, MacTech Solutions are the only people in Wichita Falls in this area to get that done. They're at 4020 Ray Road in Wichita Falls, and their website is mactech-solutions.com. Now, if you're looking to sell your home, if you need to buy a home, if you need to buy a piece of property, call me. You can call me. I'll just give you my direct cell, 940-232-3876. You can reach me directly that way. You can also call the office, 940-689-7900.
You got it.
And our website is strategicrealty.net.
Absolutely.
And really easy to get to any one of us. You can reach any of the agents easily that way. You can reach out to Lou directly if you wish to talk to her. And we look forward to helping you with the process of buying, selling.
Start to finish.
I mean, that's what we do. That's our job as realtors, is to be there with you through every step of the process, right through the day of closing. When you hand those keys over, we'll be right there with you. Exactly.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, join us next time for another episode of Strategic Moves with Lou. Lou, we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Subscribe, like, and share.